The lost signal. The stars twinkled brightly against the endless black canvas of space as the stellar seeker sailed deeper into the uncharted regions of the galaxy. A mighty vessel of the Galactic Union, it was powered by technology far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. On board, the alien crew was tense with anticipation. They were approaching Earth's solar system, a place that had been forgotten by most, a world once thriving with life, but now lost to time. For 500,000 years, no one had dared to approach this forsaken system until now. Captain Zix stood at the command deck, his 4 arms confidently gripping the console as his iridescent scales shimmered in the soft light. His compound eyes, capable of perceiving multiple spectra of light, scanned the stars ahead. There was a mixture of excitement and caution in the air as the stellar seeker closed in on its mysterious destination. "This is it," Zix said, his voice steady but filled with a quiet awe. "After 500,000 years, we are about to find out what happened to the humans." Vila, his second-in-command, floated beside him in a translucent exosuit, her form made entirely of pulsing energy. Her face, though not quite human, radiated curiosity and wonder. "I've read the archives, Captain. Some say humanity vanished without a trace. Others claim they were destroyed by their own creations. But there's always been a hint of something more. Do you think they left anything behind? Any legacy?" Zix chuckled, the sound almost musical. "If there's anything left, Villa, I don't believe it will be anything like we've encountered before. Humanity was known for their ingenuity, but they were far too young. They barely had the technology to conquer space. They couldn't have left something that could change the galaxy." "Perhaps," Vela said, her voice shimmering with an energy that betrayed her anticipation. "But the archives speak of a war fleet unlike anything seen before, a fleet that disappeared with them. Could it still be out there?" Zix gave a dismissive wave of his hand. "Superstition. The humans were pioneers, but they were not gods. We will find nothing but ruins." His words hung in the air, but there was a glint of doubt in his eyes. The crew busied themselves as the ship began to cross the outskirts of the solar system. As the stellar seeker drew closer to the inner planets, Krell, the sensor officer, suddenly spoke up. His many tentacles twitched in agitation as he stared at the console. "Captain, there's something strange," Krell said, his voice filled with unease. Zix turned, his interest piqued. "What do you mean, strange?" "I'm picking up energy readings," Krell continued, his eyes widening. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our database. It's powerful, very powerful." The bridge fell silent. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. If the humans were truly gone, why was there such a powerful energy reading? Zix frowned. "Are you sure? Earth has been uninhabited for millennia. There should be nothing but ruins." Krell's voice trembled slightly as he responded. "Captain, I don't know what it is, but it's not natural." A deep hum filled the stellar seeker as the ship's engines adjusted. Zix's fingers clenched into fists, the uncertainty gripping his mind. "Prepare for full scan. Let's see what's really out there." The stellar seeker cut through space at unimaginable speeds, its sensors sweeping the system as it approached the 4th planet, the blue and green jewel that was once known as Earth. No one spoke. Every crew member felt the weight of the moment. Could the humans have left something behind, something they had overlooked? Suddenly, a burst of static interrupted the silence, followed by an odd series of beeps. The ship's communications officer, Lynn, looked up from her console, eyes wide with disbelief. "Captain," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, I think we've picked up something. A signal. It's not from any known source. It's human." Zix's heart skipped a beat. Human. Impossible. They vanished long ago. "You're sure?" Lynn nodded. "I'm sure, Captain. The signal matches Earth's last known frequencies. This is a distress call, or perhaps a warning. It's coming from Earth." The crew exchanged startled glances, but Zix remained calm. "What's the message? Can you decode it?" Lynn's antennae twitched as she worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. "It's fragmented, Captain, but it's clear. It's a call for help. And there's something else. It's a series of coordinates, a location on Earth." The realization struck Zix like a bolt of lightning. Could it be? Could they still be there, alive? The humans. Vela's form flickered, a wave of energy pulsating from her as she spoke, her voice filled with both excitement and caution. "Captain, this could be the discovery of a lifetime. But if they are still there, what kind of humanity remains after 500,000 years?" Zix looked out the viewport, his compound eyes narrowing as he focused on the distant planet. Earth. The world that had given rise to one of the galaxy's most unique species. Now, after so many years, it seemed that humanity's story was far from over. "Prepare for approach," Zix ordered, his voice steady despite the storm of questions swirling in his mind. "We've come this far. Now we'll see what secrets Earth holds." As the stellar seeker drew closer to Earth, the crew braced themselves for the unknown, their minds racing with possibilities. Little did they know, their arrival would soon awaken a force that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The hidden legacy. The stellar seeker drifted closer to Earth, its sensors scanning every inch of the planet. The blue and green orb filled the view screen, casting an eerie glow on the crew as they watched in silent awe. Despite all the technology and advanced knowledge the Galactic Union possessed, no one had anticipated the strange pull Earth seemed to exert, like a magnetic force drawing them into its orbit. Captain Zix stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the planet. His mind raced with questions. If the humans had truly vanished, why had they left such powerful traces behind? And if there was any sign of life, what would it mean for the galaxy? "Captain," Vela said, her voice smooth and steady, though her form was vibrating with energy. "I sense something. A shift. There's more to Earth than we can see with our scans." Zix turned to face her, his four hands steepled in thought. "What do you mean?" "The scans show nothing unusual, only the remnants of a dead world." Vela's energy form flickered. "It's not the planet itself. It's something beneath the surface. I can feel the hum of ancient power, far deeper than anything we've encountered before. It's almost as though Earth is hiding something." "Something?" Zix asked, his voice tinged with skepticism. "You think there's something hidden down there, after all this time?" "I do," Vela replied, her eyes glinting with intensity. "The power I feel, it's not of this era. This is something older than any known civilization in the galaxy. The humans were much more than we realized." Zix pondered her words. The humans, who had once been a young, eager species, had somehow left a legacy that defied the laws of time and decay. How had they done it? What secrets did Earth hold that could still be pulsating beneath the surface after 500,000 years? As the stellar seeker entered the planet's atmosphere, the crew began to feel the weight of their discovery. Earth, once a thriving cradle of life, was now a cold, barren place. At least, that was what their sensors indicated. There were no signs of advanced civilizations, no emissions from cities, no power sources that could explain the strange energy readings they'd encountered. Yet something stirred beneath the planet's surface, just out of reach. "Captain," Krell, the sensor officer, called out, his voice shaky. "I'm detecting something. There are massive structures buried deep underground. They're shielded, almost impervious to our scans, but they're there, artificial, unmistakably constructed. Whatever this is, it's beyond our capabilities to fully understand." The bridge fell silent as the crew digested this new information. Ancient underground structures. The possibility was mind-boggling. What kind of technology could have been hidden here, waiting to be discovered after so many millennia? Zix's heart pounded in his chest. This wasn't just a failed civilization. This was something much more, something that had endured, buried, and hidden from the galaxy's gaze for longer than anyone could have imagined. Can we get a better reading on the structures? Zix asked, his voice calm but with an edge of urgency. What's the purpose of these things? Krell hesitated. The shields are interfering with our scans, Captain. We can't tell if they're active or dormant, but there's something odd. The structures are not spread evenly across the planet. They're concentrated in specific locations, forming patterns that seem deliberate. Patterns. Deliberate. These were words that piqued Zix's curiosity even more. Was this a defense mechanism? A hidden fleet? Or perhaps something even more mysterious? Send a probe, Zix ordered. We need to know what we're dealing with. If there's anything down there, we must find it. Moments later, a small, sleek probe was launched from the stellar seeker, diving toward Earth's surface. As it descended through the atmosphere, the crew watched the feed closely, their collective breaths held. The probe's sensors were designed to penetrate through most shielding and report back the data in real time. On the screen, a map of Earth's surface appeared, with flashing markers showing the locations of the underground structures. They were massive, larger than any known cities in the galaxy, and their architecture was unlike anything the crew had ever seen. As the probe descended closer to one of these structures, the crew could see hints of unusual symbols etched into the stone. Symbols that seemed to glow faintly, even in the dark depths of Earth's crust. I'm sending the data to you now, Captain. Lin, the communications officer, said. You need to see this. Zix leaned forward, his compound eyes narrowing, as the symbols became clearer. It was a language, no doubt about it. But it wasn't any language he or his crew had encountered before. The characters were intricate, almost alien in their complexity, but there was something undeniably human about them. The humans, Zix murmured. They were more than we thought. This isn't just a defense system. This is a message. Vila, ever perceptive, was quick to respond. Do you think this is a warning? Or an invitation? Zix did not answer immediately. His thoughts were racing. Perhaps both. But one thing is certain. We need to explore further. We cannot leave without uncovering the truth. The crew was now fully aware of the magnitude of what they had stumbled upon. Earth had been no mere resting place for the humans. It was a world that had hidden its greatest secrets for millennia. And as the stellar seeker hovered over the surface, the first pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place. The truth of humanity's legacy was within their grasp, but whether they would be able to uncover it, or whether they were ready for what they would find, remained a mystery. As the ship hovered above Earth, the crew's thoughts were filled with anticipation. What they would discover next could change the very course of galactic history. And yet, they could not shake the feeling that something was watching them, waiting for them to make their move. Whatever it was, the stellar seeker had crossed a threshold into a world that time itself had seemingly forgotten. But Earth's hidden legacy was no longer so secret. The hidden fleet awaits. The stellar seeker hovered in Earth's atmosphere, a dark shadow against the planet's blue and green surface. Below them, ancient cities and long-forgotten civilizations lay buried deep beneath the planet's crust. Yet the real mystery was just beginning to unfold. The probe they had launched had sent back startling images of massive underground structures, each one more complex and enigmatic than the last. Captain Zix stood at the front of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the monitor displaying the data from the probe. His mind raced with questions. What kind of technology had the humans created here? Why had they hidden it? And perhaps most importantly, who, or what, had been watching all this time? We've been circling for hours, Captain, Krell said, his tentacles flicking nervously as he scanned the results from the probe. The structures are too well hidden, too powerful. It's almost like they were designed to stay dormant. Zix's compound eyes narrowed. Dormant, or waiting. There's something else, something we're missing. I don't think these structures were meant to be discovered, not by us. The humans left these behind for a reason. Vila, her energy form pulsating with intensity, added, What if we're not the first to find them? What if others have already come, and they never left? Zix turned toward her, a flicker of concern passing through his expression. What do you mean? Vela's voice shimmered with unease. Captain, I've been feeling an odd presence since we arrived. It's subtle, but it's there. As though Earth itself is alive, watching us. Zix paused, contemplating her words. He hadn't sensed anything unusual, but Vela's instincts were rarely wrong. There was something off about this place, something that went beyond mere abandoned ruins. Prepare a team for surface exploration, Zix ordered. We're going down. It's time to see what we're dealing with. The crew readied themselves for the first mission on Earth. Zix, Vela, Krell, and Lin, the ship's linguist, were among the crew members chosen to descend to the surface. The atmosphere was thin but breathable, and they would be able to land on one of the undiscovered structures. The rest of the crew would remain aboard the Stellar Seeker to monitor their progress and continue scanning for any further anomalies. As the team descended, the Stellar Seeker slowly backed away, its engines humming as it lifted into orbit. The shuttle, a sleek silver craft built for speed and agility, raced toward the surface of Earth. The team remained silent during the descent, each member lost in their own thoughts. The closer they got to the surface, the more tense the air became. I can see it, Krell said, his many eyes scanning the terrain. There's a structure rising up from the ground, just ahead. The scans are confirming it. This is no ordinary building. Zix leaned forward, his fingers tapping lightly on the shuttle's control panel. The structure before them was enormous, its walls jagged, almost organic in shape, like the bones of some long-dead creature. Vines of unknown origin crept up its sides, giving it an almost living appearance. Set down here, Zix commanded. Let's see what this place holds. The shuttle touched down gently on the uneven ground. The team exited the craft, stepping onto the barren soil of Earth. The air was thin but filled with the scent of something ancient, a mix of dust and forgotten time. Their boots crunched on the ground as they moved toward the towering structure, its shadow stretching long and dark across the cracked Earth. As they approached the entrance, the doors, if they could be called doors, seemed to respond to their presence, sliding open with a low, grinding sound. The temperature inside was cold, but the walls were covered in strange symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint blue light. These symbols, they're not like anything I've ever seen, Lin said, her voice full of awe. It's almost like they're alive. Each one seems to change, shift in real time. Focus, Zix commanded, though his voice was filled with awe as well. We need to understand their meaning. The team moved deeper into the structure, their footsteps echoing off the walls. The air grew colder, and the faint glow from the symbols intensified. It was clear now that this was not merely a building. It was a fortress, or something far more complex. Each room they passed through seemed to shift and warp, the architecture defying all logic and reason. I think I'm starting to understand, Lin said after a long pause. These symbols, they're a map, a guide to something. This place is a waypoint. A waypoint to what? Krell asked, his many eyes darting nervously. Before Zix could answer, a deep rumble shook the ground beneath their feet. The team froze, and then the floor beneath them began to shift. Slowly, a section of the wall moved, revealing a hidden passage. It was dark and cold, but it beckoned them forward. Stay alert, Zix ordered. Let's move. They entered the passage, and the temperature dropped even further. The walls narrowed as they moved forward, the light from their suits casting long shadows on the stone. The further they walked, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, as though they were being drawn into the very heart of the structure. Finally, they reached a large chamber. At the center, a massive object lay dormant. A ship, but not like any ship they had ever seen. It was enormous, its surface sleek and metallic, covered in the same glowing symbols they had seen earlier. The ship was far beyond anything the Galactic Union had ever created, a vessel of unimaginable power. Is this their war fleet? Vela whispered, her energy form flickering with awe. Zix stepped forward, his heart racing. No, this is more than that. This is humanity's true legacy. The fleet they left behind is no mere weapon. It's a symbol of their ingenuity, their resolve. And it's been waiting here for 500,000 years. The truth was clearer now. Earth had not been abandoned. It had been preserved, hidden away, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And now, as the team gazed upon the dormant fleet, they knew that they were standing at the threshold of a new era. The legacy of humanity was not gone. It was alive, and it was ready to change the course of galactic history. The question now was, who else knew about this hidden fleet, and what were they planning to do with it? The stakes had just become much higher, and the journey into humanity's mysterious past was far from over. Awakening the past. The hum of the stellar seeker was distant now, a soft vibration beneath the team's feet as they stood in the cavernous chamber beneath Earth's surface. The war fleet, hidden for millennia, lay dormant before them, its sleek hull glimmering with the faint glow of ancient energy. It was a ship like no other, crafted with a technology so advanced that even the most learned minds of the Galactic Union could not fully comprehend it. Captain Zix stood still for a moment, his eyes wide as he took in the sight of the fleet. The ship before him, humankind's ultimate creation, had been hidden deep below the surface of Earth for 500,000 years, its purpose unknown until now. As the cool air of the chamber wrapped around him, a new sense of urgency began to build within him. This discovery was not just about unraveling the mysteries of Earth's past. It was a revelation that would shake the galaxy itself. "This is unbelievable," Krell whispered, his many eyes reflecting the ship's glowing surface. How could a civilization like humanity have created something like this and then hide it for so long? Zix turned to face his crew, his forehands clasped tightly. The humans were not as simple as we thought. They weren't just an upstart species. They were capable of things we can't even begin to imagine. They left this fleet for a reason we have yet to understand. Vela's energy form flickered, a pulse of light illuminating the otherwise dark room. "Captain, do you feel that? The ship, it's resonating with me, like it's alive." Zix's eyes narrowed. "I felt it too. It's almost as if the ship is waiting for something. But for what?" The team began to move forward, their steps echoing in the hollow chamber. They circled the warship, carefully studying its surface. The metallic hull seemed to shimmer in the low light, almost imperceptibly shifting in response to their presence. No one spoke. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. This ship, Lin, the ship's linguist, spoke up, her voice full of awe. "It's more than a war vessel. It's a command center. I can see the interface. It's alive, like a neural network. It's designed to respond to specific stimuli, perhaps even to individuals." Zix turned sharply, his attention caught by her words. "What do you mean?" "It responds to us." Lin nodded, her eyes scanning the ship's interface. "It's like the ship is scanning us, trying to understand us. I think we're more than just intruders to it. We're the key." Before Zix could respond, the ship's hull emitted a low, deep hum. The lights inside the chamber flickered, and a series of holographic symbols appeared before the team, glowing with an eerie, pulsing light. The symbols were familiar. They matched the ones they had seen etched into the walls of the underground structure. "Captain," Vela said softly, "this is the moment. The ship, it's ready to communicate." The symbols began to shift, forming intricate patterns that seemed to form a message. The team gathered closer, their eyes fixed on the floating holograms. "It's a code," Lin said, her fingers flying over her translator device. "A sequence of numbers, a language we can barely comprehend. It's asking for a key." Zix's heart raced. "A key? What kind of key? Lin hesitated. It's a genetic key, Captain. A DNA sequence. The ship requires a living link, someone who carries the ancient human DNA to unlock it. It's like a bloodline code. The realization hit Zix like a wave. You're saying this ship won't activate unless we have someone with human ancestry? Lin nodded slowly. Yes, I believe that's what the ship is asking for. A direct link to humanity's past. It's asking for a descendant, someone who shares the same genetic code that the humans used to create this ship. Villa's energy form flickered again, but we've been searching for signs of humanity for centuries. There's no one left alive. Earth has been silent for so long. How can we find someone with that link? Zix looked at her, a deep sense of unease settling over him. We might have to look beyond just finding a descendant. Perhaps there's something else we don't understand yet. Something hidden away. But for now, we need to activate the ship. We can't let this opportunity slip away. The team stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the discovery pressing down on them. The warship before them was not just a relic of the past. It was a living, breathing entity, waiting for its purpose to be fulfilled. But the question was, could they find the key? Could they unlock the secrets of humanity's greatest achievement, or would they be left standing before a locked door, unable to move forward? The room grew colder, the hum of the ship growing louder as it seemed to pulse in response to their thoughts. The presence of humanity was felt more strongly now than ever. It was as though they were no longer merely explorers. They had become a part of something far larger than themselves. We'll need to dig deeper, Zix said, his voice filled with determination. This ship holds the answers, and whatever it takes, we're going to find them. But as the team moved to engage the ship's interface further, a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. The ground beneath them trembled. Zix's eyes widened in alarm. Something was awakening, something far more powerful than they had anticipated. And as the first true signs of life emerged from the depths of Earth, they realized that their mission had just taken an unexpected turn. The ship was not just waiting for a key, it was waiting for its next commander. The awakening of the fleet. The tremor that had rocked the chamber grew stronger, vibrating through the walls of the ancient structure. The ground beneath the team's feet shifted once more, as if the very bones of Earth were coming alive. The warship before them, once dormant for millennia, now pulsed with energy, its metallic surface humming with the echoes of ancient power. Zix stood still, his compound eyes scanning the ship, his mind racing to understand what was happening. The holographic symbols still floated around them, shifting in complex patterns as the ship's systems came online. What's happening? Krell asked, his voice trembling. Why is the ship activating now? Vela's energy form flickered with heightened intensity. It's not just activating. It's responding to something. It's awakening, and I think it's recognizing us. But why now? Zix's gaze narrowed as he stepped forward, his voice steady but filled with urgency. There's only one way to find out. We need to interact with the ship. The sooner we do, the better. The team moved cautiously toward the central console, a towering structure at the heart of the ship. The symbols around them flickered more rapidly now, as if they were guiding the way. Lin, the linguist, approached first, her eyes scanning the interface for any sign of understanding. It's not like anything I've seen, she said, her voice filled with awe. This isn't just technology. It's almost as though the ship itself has a consciousness. Zix studied the interface closely. It was unlike any control panel or ship system they had encountered before. The console seemed to shift under their touch, the symbols rearranging themselves to form new patterns in real time. It was alive, responding to their presence, like a living organism that recognized them as its chosen ones. We don't have time to waste, Zix said, stepping forward. If the ship is awakening, then we need to be ready to take control. This isn't just about discovery anymore. It's about survival. We don't know what forces might be coming for this technology. As Zix spoke, the ship's hum grew louder, more insistent. The walls around them trembled once more, and a deep resonating voice, almost a whisper, seeped into their minds. Activate the command sequence. Only the worthy may wield the power of the fleet. The voice was not mechanical, nor was it human. It was something else, something ancient and wise. It felt as though the ship itself was testing them, evaluating their worth. But what did it mean to be worthy? Zix looked to his crew, his mind working overtime to comprehend the message. "Captain," Krell said hesitantly, "the ship is asking for something more. It's not just a key, it's a test." Vela's energy form flickered with realization. A test of what? Our intent, our abilities. Before Zix could respond, the ship's holographic symbols shifted again, forming a new sequence, a sequence that seemed to pulse with an almost magnetic force. The symbols were familiar, but they were arranged in a way that made them impossible to ignore. This was a command, a directive that could only be activated by those who understood it. Lynn stepped forward, her hands trembling as she tried to decipher the sequence. I think I understand. This is a choice to either claim the fleet or abandon it. It's offering us the chance to command it, but only if we can prove ourselves worthy of its power. Zix's heart pounded. The stakes had just risen higher than he could have imagined. The ship, this relic of humanity's greatest achievement, was offering them control, but at what cost? What would they have to sacrifice to gain the power it promised? "There's no turning back," Zix said, his voice resolute. "We'll claim it. We have no choice. If this fleet is the key to humanity's survival, or to the survival of the galaxy, we must take control." Lynn hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Then we'll have to activate the command sequence together. The ship is waiting for a connection, something only we can provide." With a deep breath, Zix placed his hands on the console. His fingers slid over the surface, feeling the pulse of ancient energy beneath his fingertips. The symbols around them seemed to react, their glow intensifying, the hum of the ship growing louder as the team made the connection. For a moment, nothing happened. The chamber was still, the team holding their breath, waiting for the ship to respond. Then, slowly, the ship's systems began to power up in a cascading sequence of lights and sounds. The walls of the chamber shifted, revealing hidden pathways and hidden chambers, all leading toward the heart of the ship, the core from which the fleet would be commanded. "We did it," Lynn breathed, her voice filled with wonder. "We've activated it." But just as the team began to process their success, a sudden, terrifying realization hit Zix. "This is only the beginning," he said grimly. "We've activated the fleet, but we don't know what else is coming, what else the ship is capable of." As the ship came fully online, the shadows around them seemed to shift. The presence they had felt since arriving on Earth, the feeling of being watched, was now stronger than ever. The ship was alive, but so was the planet itself. Earth had been waiting for something, and now that it had been awakened, it was clear that it would not let go without a fight. The deep rumbling in the distance returned, louder this time. The ground shook beneath them, as if the entire planet was reacting to the ship's activation. Zix felt the air grow thick with tension. "Something's coming," Krell said, his eyes wide with fear. "Something much bigger than us." Zix clenched his fists, his heart racing. They had activated the fleet, but now they were about to face whatever force had been guarding it for all these years. The Stellar Seeker had uncovered humanity's greatest secret, but in doing so, they had awoken something far more dangerous. And the galaxy was about to learn that the legacy of humanity was far from over. The Guardians' challenge. The ground beneath their feet vibrated once more, this time with an intensity that rattled the walls of the massive chamber. Zix and his crew steadied themselves as the deep hum of the warship grew louder. It was as though the entire structure, once dormant for 500,000 years, was now fully awake and aware of their presence. The faint glow of the holographic symbols had turned into brilliant, pulsing lights, casting long, eerie shadows across the walls. Zix's eyes scanned the console one last time. The ship had activated fully, but something felt wrong. The presence they had sensed earlier, the sense of being watched, had intensified. It was no longer just a feeling. It was a reality. Something else was here with them. "We've triggered something," Zix murmured, his voice low and urgent. "Something that's not just part of the ship's systems. This place, it's not abandoned." Vela, her energy form flickering erratically, spoke with a sense of unease. "Captain, it's like the planet is waking up, not just the ship. There's an intelligence here, something that predates even the ship's creation." Before Zix could respond, a deep, resonant voice boomed through the chamber, so loud it reverberated in their minds. It wasn't mechanical or artificial. It was a voice that seemed to come from the heart of the planet itself. "Who dares disturb the slumber of Earth's guardians?" The team froze, their eyes wide with disbelief. The voice was commanding, ancient, and powerful. There was no source to it. They couldn't pinpoint where it came from. It felt as though the entire structure, the planet itself, was speaking directly to them. The ground shook again, but this time the tremor was followed by the sound of heavy footsteps, distant but growing closer. The air around them began to shimmer, and the temperature dropped as a figure emerged from the shadows at the far end of the chamber. It was humanoid, but unlike anything the crew had seen. The figure was made of stone, its body covered in intricate symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, were two deep, glowing orbs that shone with a piercing blue light. The voice spoke again, but this time, the tone was filled with ancient authority. "You have awakened the fleet, but to command it, you must prove your worth. To command humanity's legacy, you must first pass the trials of the Guardians." The team stood motionless, unsure of how to react. This being, this Guardian, was not an ordinary life form. It was as if it had been forged by the very will of Earth itself, an eternal protector of its secrets. "Trials?" Zix asked, his voice steady despite the fear creeping into his thoughts. "What kind of trials? We seek only to understand the ship and its purpose. We mean no harm." The Guardian's glowing eyes fixed on him, and for a moment, Zix felt as if his very thoughts were being read. Then, with a deep rumbling sound, the figure spoke once more. "You seek to understand, but understanding comes at a cost. The fleet was never meant to be wielded by those who do not honor its legacy. Humanity's power is not to be taken lightly. You must prove your worth, or face the consequences." Zix felt the weight of the words settle over him. There was no going back now. The fleet had been awakened, and now they were being forced to face whatever trials Earth's guardians had set in place. The stakes were higher than they had ever imagined. "What must we do?" Vela asked, her energy form flickering with nervous anticipation. The Guardian raised one of its stone-like arms and pointed toward the far end of the chamber, where a dark passageway loomed. "The first trial lies ahead. Follow the path, and prove that you are worthy of commanding what humanity left behind." Without another word, the Guardian stepped back into the shadows, vanishing from sight as quickly as it had appeared. The chamber fell silent, and the glowing symbols slowly faded, leaving the crew in darkness once again. Zix turned to his team, his eyes determined. "We have no choice. We must complete these trials. Whatever they are, we face them together. Humanity's legacy is too important to abandon now." Lynn, her fingers still twitching with the urge to translate, nodded. "But we don't even know what we're up against. The ship, this Guardian, it's all beyond our understanding. What if we fail?" "We won't fail," Zix said firmly, stepping forward. "We're here to uncover the truth, and we will find it, no matter what stands in our way." The team moved toward the dark passageway, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The air grew colder as they entered the narrow tunnel, the walls closing in around them. The glowing symbols of the ship, which had once been bright and alive, now flickered weakly, barely illuminating their path. As they ventured deeper into the tunnel, the ground beneath them began to change. The smooth, metallic surface of the ship gave way to rough stone, worn by the passage of time. The walls were lined with intricate carvings, depicting scenes from humanity's past, warriors, explorers, and great feats of engineering. It was clear that this place had once been the heart of a civilization, a hub for knowledge and power. But now it seemed abandoned, forgotten. And yet there was a sense of something more, something watching, waiting. As they walked further, the tunnel suddenly widened into a large cavernous room. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, atop which rested an object glowing with a strange, otherworldly light. The air around it hummed with power. "This must be it," Krell said softly, his voice filled with awe. "The first trial. We need to take the object." Zix stepped forward cautiously. "We don't know what this is. It might not be as simple as it seems." As his hand reached toward the object, the air in the room grew thick with energy. The ground trembled again, and a voice boomed from the shadows, deeper and more resonant than before. "To claim the fleet, you must first prove your resolve," the voice said. "Only those who can endure the trials of the past may wield the power of humanity. Take the object, and your journey will begin." Zix looked back at his team, determination in his eyes. "Let's see what we're made of." And with that, he reached out, touching the object, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead.